The one spear! The one spear is real! Indeed, it is real. After finishing the previous video about Spearmaster and then looking through the comments, I noticed some solid suggestions. Most notably though, I found a comment from a speedrunner named Iced, which partly read, "You can probably eventually get it." So, how hard could it be? The answer? Now let's be clear here. I did not do the real run, and unless new strategies are found, it'll never be done. Period. In reality, I did a segmented run, where I do individual segments and stitch them together. If you want to see that run, you can check it out here, but as for why it's not possible, well, you'll see fairly soon. However, the run being humanly doable was actually not my concern. That's because a commenter pointed out an error of mine that made the run not doable at all. So let's do a little recap. You start the run, get the legendary 6-foot spear throw, get some chieftain progress, sleep until Karma 3, use that Karma to run all the way to Moon, get max Karma and food from Moon, run to Pebbles, get chieftain, use the chieftain passage to go back to Moon, and run to Communications Array. If you don't know why this is the route, feel free to check out my previous video for an explanation, and while not necessarily required, it could be pretty useful in understanding this video. Anyway, one of these points is wrong, so feel free to take a guess. Okay, done? It's this one. Something I forgot doing is checking which passages can be acquired before Survivor, and Chieftain is actually not one of them. Well, that sucks, but it's okay. Multiple commenters pointed out the Nomad passage, which could be used instead. However, guess what? This was bad. Very bad. As I checked the wiki, I saw that just about nothing else could be acquired before Survivor. Out of all the reasonable choices, there was still Dragon Slayer, but I couldn't even begin creating a round that could get it. So that was the end. Or was it? The one spear had to be real, so what if there was something else? What if I went beyond reason? One particular thing stood out to me: echoes. After talking with Pebbles, you could save here and now be in a rather useful spot that could reach the wall echo easily. However, that wasn't the only echo you could reach. Normally, echoes require you to visit them twice, and the wall echo is a well-known exception. But the subterranean echo can also be triggered in one visit. So, if you were really damn good at the game, you could go all the way from the wall to subterranean, visiting the Sky Islands and Chimney Canopy echoes. Well, okay, that's pretty cool and all, but what's the point? Well, there are two passages I have not yet mentioned. Wanderer, which is completely impossible, and Pilgrim, which requires you to get all 6 echoes.
Okay, Rockman, maybe you can get 4 echoes, great, but how are you ever getting to Shaded Citadel and back?
Well, I thought the same, but then I realized something. By visiting the Chimney Canopy echo, I could drop to Shaded Citadel, visit the echo, and then climb all the way back to the chimney, ending that cycle. Possible? No idea, but it was a start. I would also later remember that I didn't even need to be at max karma to get the Shaded echo, meaning I could run to it, die, and the game would remember the visit, allowing me to then get the echo on the next run. So, in an unbelievable twist of fate, you were able to get all 6 echoes for the Pilgrim passage, and the game was able to give me the passage, the route, the one spear. There we go. Wait. The passage. What? Where's the passage? Can you not passage from the echo screen? What? Are you serious? Indeed, the game was serious, as you cannot use passages after getting an echo, only after sleeping. There was absolutely no way I could ever get the subterranean echo from Moon, meaning I could never get the passage before I went to Pebbles to have my rest, where I could then use the passage one final time. After hours of routing and theory crafting, that was it. The run had to be over. But at the same time, the one spear had to be real. So I tried again, and again, and again. Also, I could stumble upon something once again. An idea so ludicrous, so utterly deranged that there was no way it could be done. So, if you really didn't want to use a spear to get to the wall, then, well, you could go there. However, instead of crossing Industrial Complex and Chimney Canopy, which is relatively doable, you'd have to run past a small part of Industrial Complex, the entire garbage wastes, the entire shoreline, and the entire underhang. Now, is this doable? I don't know. I think I'd be able to make it to the middle of underhang on an okay run, but those cracked movementers that can A-hop? Well, I mean, they could probably get further. When I said this, I did sort of believe it might be possible, but after running to Moon, I knew that if it was on a level that might be unattainable by humans. The run from Outskirts to Moon ended up being an 8-hour grind, so a run that went even beyond that? To be honest, I was too scared to even try because I could be wasting my time here. Of course I did, but... Wait, is it actually possible? Before we answer that though, we need to talk about why going to Moon is possible. Remember that comment by Iced? Well, he was talking about a different route, one that went to Shaded, but this route isn't actually feasible. However, the run to Moon is, but how? I get you are awesome, epic, and very good at the game, Mr. Rockman, but how could you ever run that fast? Well, in reality, even with a max time cycle, I couldn't. But who said that was my limit? When Downpour released, it added a new mechanic called shelter failures. These sometimes happened for most Slugcats, and when they did, they changed up the spawns and, more notably, added periodic drizzles that would eventually go away. You may ask why this happens. It's because during shelter failures, you wake up early. Yes, you read that right. Early. This means that if you get a shelter failure, you wake up early and then have some time before the cycle starts. How much time? Around 4 minutes. This is the only humanly plausible way you can reach Moon, so you may wonder how you get a shelter failure. Great question. As nobody I asked really knew, I looked into the code myself and found a lot of interesting stuff. However, the main point was line 1158, showing that by default, which is what we have here, our chance is a very acceptable 2%. 2 goddamned percent. This means that in a real run, you would have to do the legendary 6-foot spear throw and then get a 1 in 50 chance to even attempt a brutal run that took me 8 hours to do. Do you see why the real run is so impossible now? Another notable factor to the run's success is, of course, our good old friend Squib. While being able to fly up here is useful, you know what else is useful? Being able to fly anywhere. Using a Squid Key ends up allowing you to go a decent amount faster, especially in the struts of Moon's superstructure. So, now that we are caught up on the strategy, we can go back to our original question. Can you really pull off the Outskirts wall skip, where you go from Outskirts to the wall without going through Chimney Canopy? The answer is yes. And no. Theoretically speaking, human play can do it, but to be honest with you, it's really hard, and I mean disgustingly hard. Remember how we needed that shelter failure to get anywhere? Well, did you know that the time a shelter failure gives you is random? I don't know by how much it varies, but I do know that it plays a big role. And in my opinion, to have a realistic chance, you need that random time to be in the top 10%, which makes the chance to get such a shelter failure go from 1 in 50 to 1 in 500. Here's another major issue: underhang. While we essentially have to use a Squidcada to quickly travel the precipice and a lot of other areas, it does have an issue. You are sort of limited in speed. As you constantly have to carry it, you can't go particularly fast. However, once we reach underhang, we throw Squib away. Why? Because we get a new friend, the grapple worm. And guess what? The underhang is the perfect place for the grapple worm to be used in for going fast. This is why in order to go to the wall, you will really have to step on that gas pedal when you get a grapple worm, because you can finally go fast and you really don't have the time to slow down. However, going fast won't be the problem. It'll be dealing with the white lizards, leapzards, dropwig, spiders, and the occasional sky demon. This is the actual reason that underhang makes your cycle go from hard to stupidly hard. All of this combines for a run that is borderline infeasible for humans. But thankfully, I did not have to actually do it. This whole run is a segmented one, and while I originally wanted to make segments for each cycle, I had to make this one into two, and I'm very glad I did, as just the underhang part took me 5 hours to do. So, while not really feasible in one go, it can be done in two, and so we can actually get the wall echo. There are no more catches, as that was really the final hurdle of the run. In comparison, everything else was simple, as I got all the other echoes, moon, pebbles, and the communications array. But okay, there is one more catch. The run, as far as I am aware, is theoretically doable, and though my execution wasn't perfectly accurate, watch the other video to find out why, it is probably plausible. However, if you have read the title of that other video, you may have noticed something odd. Echo route. What does that mean? Well, this route uses the Pilgrim Passage, requiring you to do the wall skip and to get the echoes. However, that doesn't mean that this is the only idea. As I mentioned before, you could, theoretically, get Dragon Slayer by hitting lizards with rocks and grenades. I didn't do this because, well, I wasn't sure how to, but there is hope in it. However, there is yet another route, the Nomad route. While the wiki does say that you need Survivor, from my testing, I don't think you do, meaning that, unless it is a bug, you can use the Nomad passage instead of doing all of the nonsense with echoes. While I don't think you can get it in the run from Outskirts to Moon, because you slept in the Outskirts shelter twice, you can, however, do the run from Moon to Pebbles and get it there, meaning you'll get it in time to use it. Naturally, you may be asking why I did all of that echo nonsense when I could have just done the Nomad route. The answer is actually the video you are watching. As I looked into getting the Pilgrim Passage, I knew that there was something up with Nomad, but I could not resist the echoes. Even when I was desperate, I told myself that it was some glitch and that I had to keep trying to make the impossible into reality. It was only because I loved that idea of gathering all the echoes that I kept trying, ruining my mood for multiple days in a row in the run frame, all in the pursuit of something great. And isn't that what truly matters? Would you really care about this video as much if it was just me saying that I did the run? Wouldn't it be sad if this ludicrous route was never found?
Rockman, didn't you ignore the nomad route because you had sunk so much time into the echo route, and the sunk cost fallacy kicked in after you figured out why the nomad route was possible?
Well, yeah, there's also that, but come on, the video sounds better with the other explanation. Anyway, that is it for me today, as I don't want this video to be as long as the previous one. That took me way too long to edit, which ended up being a miserable experience. Believe it or not, but I still have a lot more to talk about this whole thing. What I covered here was just the macro route, but there are so many little strategies I had to develop that are actually really interesting, and I plan to make that into a video, hopefully soon. Similarly, the amount of funny moments I have is just absurd. I haven't even gone through half the footage and I'm at 50 minutes of content already, so I'll get those into videos in the style of the gourmet video as well. Either way, big thanks for watching. This route was by far the dumbest thing I've done in this game, and I'm still amazed I actually did it. Naturally, if you want to see more Rainworld content, I did get an idea for the Rivulet run, and I want to stream myself doing it, so if you want to see that, please keep pestering me about it in the comments so I could get the courage to go live. Other than that, like, subscribe, and meet me next week.